live studio audience. We've got people from the Lake District, from Yorkshire, wherever else, Nottinghamshire, Bournemouth as well. You love to see it. Thank you very much, everybody who's braved the cold this evening to be with us. But anyway, new council houses are going to be built for asylum seekers. Around 200 local authorities have indicated interest in the government pilot scheme that would fund the building of new properties or the refurbishment of derelict housing to make room for asylum seekers. Local councils involved include Brighton and Hove, Hackney, Peterborough and Thanet. But we've already seen this elsewhere. 2 weeks ago, flats in the seaside town of Llandudno in Wales are going to be refurbished specifically to house asylum seekers. In July, it emerged that there were plans to put asylum seekers in new £250,000 flats in Hampshire. There was fury after 113 flats were set to be used for asylum seekers in Farnborough. I believe that those asylum seekers have now been moved out of there. In Suffolk, asylum seekers have been moved into luxury £300,000 townhouses, complete with ensuite bathrooms, electric vehicle charging points, underfloor heating as well. So the latest is this. About £100 million has been allocated for councils to buy, build or renovate these homes to put asylum seekers in so that they can end the use of asylum seeker hotels. Well, three things here. One, we were told that Operation Scatter, which is basically to scatter asylum seekers around the UK in houses, was a dangerous right-wing conspiracy theory. Well, now it's happening, isn't it? Two, we were told that asylum seekers will not get preferential treatment when it comes to council houses. Well, it's very difficult to see what else this is, really, isn't it, I think, other than preferential treatment. Three, this Labour government need to understand, people aren't just angry about the use of hotels. It's not all about us not being able to book a room at a Holiday Inn, is it? We're really angry about the fact that these people are here in the first place. And you know what you're going to see on social media now? Around the Calais migrant camps, you're going to see videos of illegals being moved into brand spanking new houses. Channel migrant crossings rose 13% under Labour last year. Keir Starmer isn't smashing the gangs, is he? He's doing their job for them. Let's get the views of my panel and the audience as well. So, Adam, yeah, these new council houses or refurbished council houses for asylum seekers. Your views?
Look, so you break into this country illegally, you'll get either a free hotel room or a free flat, free food, free healthcare, free dentistry, free legal aid. You have no utility bills, no worries. Your life for the foreseeable future, if not your whole of your life in this country, is free. And it is on the taxpayer's expense. You and me are paying for that. Most of these people crossing the channel illegally are not asylum seekers, they're economic migrants. They come from, look, we've had rapes, sexual assaults, paedophilia from people from like Egypt, Morocco, Pakistan. There's no war in those countries. Recently, I made a fuss. I got contacted on social media, a pregnant young lady in her 20s, heavily pregnant as well, sent me pictures of her council accommodation, bugs, stains on the curtains, stains on the mattresses, really terrible place. And I threatened to put this on this show and on social media, and she was moved within hours with help from a local councillor. Now, people like that are being put in terrible conditions, yet asylum seekers are going to be given free flats, free houses. It's so wrong. We need to deport these people en masse when reform get in the next election and stop the benefits, stop the housing, and they will self-deport in their millions in this country. I believe we should have 2 or 3 million people leave this country.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN. All right, there's someone in the audience with a microphone, I believe. Yeah. Hello. Oh, two, hey. Right, we'll start with ladies first. Ladies first. What would you like to say on this? That's all right, don't worry. So obviously we're talking about whether or not you think that maybe it's a good thing or a bad thing that we've got these new council houses possibly for asylum seekers.
I just think, how much longer are we going to continue to reward these people that enter the country, you know, illegally? I mean, I absolutely think that the genuine asylum seekers have every right to be safe and to want their families to be safe. And I think that every country should help them in achieving that. I'm talking about the genuine asylum
Women and
seekers.
children, maybe, not tens of thousands of men.
As you said, you know, the vast majority of people that come over on those boats are simply not that. And the government must think that we're thick to not know that. I've got family members of my own that are waiting for council accommodation. Some have been on the list for years. And I just think to have somebody come over illegally and to now be spending, well, how many billions is it?
Well, it was about 100 million quid in the short term, but yeah.
On them, I think it's... I mean, how can anybody in the government expect us to be OK with that, to be happy about that, to think that it's a reasonable thing to do?
The government does not care.
No.
And the fact of the matter is they want the asylum seekers out of the hotels because they've made a commitment to empty the hotels out. But if all you're doing is removing asylum seekers or so-called asylum seekers from hotels and putting them in accommodation elsewhere, that's not solving the problem at all. It's just moving everything around. But you hit on a really valuable point. The fact is that I've got 3 kids, 2 are Gen Zs. They call themselves Gen Zs. We say Gen Z.
Gen Z, because we speak proper England.
We speak proper English, that's true. But they are, you know, desperate to get on the housing ladder somehow. Even rented accommodation for my middle son was incredibly difficult for him to get the deposit together, to climb up the list of 10 people that were ahead of him in the queue. And we can't allow that situation to continue in this country while we are building accommodation for
will
other
under
people.
Labour. It will.
Well, thank you very much for making your point. Well done. I'll go to this gentleman here and then we'll get the other 2 panellists here. Yeah, well done that lady, yes. Go on, sir. What would you like to say?
Excuse my croaky voice that I've been poorly over Christmas, but really my question to you, Barry, really, to be honest, and the rest of the panel, but specifically to you, is how should the public respond to a government that appears to ignore the will of the people and they just do not address what Adam has said? I travel around the country and everybody's saying what Adam says and this lady says. Everybody says it. Because there is a powder cake, which is the British people. And believe me, when it comes, it will bring this government down. So how will you respond to that?
Go on then, Barry.
First of all, let me say thank you to you for what you said about all of us respecting genuine asylum seekers and wanting them to be safe. And I think that should be a foundation. I've spent 29 years this year as an MP, and one of the biggest issues I've faced is getting housing for my constituents, because Brent, which is where I'm the MP, has a huge housing crisis. And one of the arguments I've had with successive governments and with the local council is I think that the time that you've been waiting should also count for your points allocation when they're assessing your housing need, right? Because I've had a mother who was, first of all, she was a single woman, and told that she didn't qualify, she wasn't vulnerable. 19 years later, she was told that even though she now had she'd had a daughter, the daughter was now too old because she was now an adult and she couldn't get a house, right? 19 years. And so what you were saying about the absolute anger and frustration of anybody who has been waiting to get a house on a council house waiting list, to see suddenly there is a new category of people who get housing separate from normal residents in this country.
But what are you going to do about it? What's the government going to do about it?
I looked at this when I saw the 100 million, right? I thought, okay, I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to incentivise councils where there may be not a housing problem. That's what I thought, not a housing problem, to bring back into use old properties that need renovating. That would have made some sort of sense, right? But when you showed the list of the councils who were actually applying for this, actually they are councils, all of whom have a serious housing problem. So I can't see anything more calculated to get up the nostrils of the British people than this. So I hadn't seen this scheme before, but I think... Well,
would you urge them to rethink this?
I think this is a disaster, and it's an intellectual failing to understand how people in this country, who are exactly as fair-minded as that lady, started off by saying, look, we all want people who are genuine asylum seekers to be safe, but they should not be getting priority over British people who've been here waiting.
But we're still not saying what we're going to do about it.
In housing needs.
Think about this. It's got so bad that it's red-pilled Barry Gardiner. I mean, brilliant. I mean, this is it.
I'm going to clip this and send that to Keir Starmer.
But I mean,
I'll send it myself, Adam. You didn't, Barry.
The thing is, for me, is that basically it's the lies, isn't it? That for a long time we were told this is some kind of dangerous conspiracy theory. We're also told, I mean, in fact, there's been previous statements from previous stories similar to this, where it's like, asylum seekers, they don't get priority. They don't get priority. Well, I'm sorry, but specifically building new homes or renovating new homes only for asylum seekers, it is giving them priority, Krista.
Well, I have some news.
Oh, gosh.
Thankfully, I've been checking Gary Lineker's Twitter feed, and he's offered to take them. He's offered. Oh, actually, no, he hasn't. But what I would do, all of those lefty celebrities that signed the letter saying that the Egyptian guy who had all those abhorrent tweets should come in, I would send them all to all of their houses because I think that would be the best place to send people. This is so wrong on so many levels, because we have a housing crisis all over the United Kingdom, and we have a housing crisis facing people who have paid into the system. Not just people who are waiting for council houses, but, as we said, the Gen Zs that we were just talking about. I mean, no wonder they're meditating and celibate. I mean, that's why. Because
You've got a house. He does have a house.
He does have a house.
Fair enough. All right.
And so I can't get my head around how...
It's a monastery, not a house.
Maybe that's the solution to this. I can't get my head around how absolutely thick this is, how stupid this is. But also, if you are... There's an element of this as well which really irritates me, which is that if you are a young man in this country and try and get a council house, you are so far down the list. Whereas if you're a young male asylum seeker, which we've seen a lot of these asylum seekers are, well, then you're going to have a council pay for accommodation. If there is £100 million for council houses, well, then build council houses and give them to people who are legitimate, who have paid into the system, who are on the list already. That's it.
And can I say, look, I've got a boy who is a tremendous hard worker. I mean, really decent guy.
He meditates too.
Yeah, and he meditates, absolutely. He's very, very sweet and kind and decent, but he knows that he will have to move away from the area where his family is into another much cheaper area, possibly hundreds of miles away from us, just to rent a flat. And if he wants to start a family, it's going to be even harder. You simply can't keep putting people into this position.
Do you know, in where we are now in Paddington, 72% of the social housing in this borough is taken up by foreign-born. 72%, and that is mirrored in many London boroughs. That is just a disgrace. This country is self-destructing, and it is getting worse and turbocharged under Labour.
Foreign-born British citizens, Adam?
It's foreign-born. I've got the stat there.
Yeah. So let's not just try and spin it too much.
Yeah. I mean, there is a slight. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Barry, and you're right. Technically speaking.
But what I want to know is.
Sorry. I think that's an important point, because on that, people like to say, "Oh, well, Boris Johnson's a foreign-born British citizen." Yeah, but to be fair, Boris Johnson's not in social housing, is he? But and we have been giving out passports like confessing.
If you are a foreign-born British citizen as well, then and you're taking a council house, doesn't that mean that therefore then you are a drain on the system rather than putting it into the system?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we need to look out for is as these closures, I mean, allegedly happen at some point of these migrant hotels, then what happens there is that then a lot of those people become in imminent risk of homelessness under the eyes of the way that we do the system. So you're going to end up, I think I'm right in saying there's something like 35,000 in migrant hotels at the moment, something like that number. So if they decide that they're going to close them all by the end of the next Parliament, you're going to have to find at least 35,000, as we know it now, homes or houses of multiple occupancy to put these people, and they're going to be classed as being in urgent need. And that's before we've factored in everyone else who's going to come in that time. Which means that they will be very, very near, if not right at the top of the social housing waiting list. So, you know, that is a big problem for Britain. And if you want to go, I mean, Llandudno is actually a really nice...
Sorry, just a point of clarification there. If they're accepted as asylum seekers, my understanding is that on what the system that most councils operate, once you've been accepted as an asylum seeker, you then have the same rights as everybody else, but that means you would then be treated in accordance with your need. So if you are a single man, at that point, you will go to the bottom of the queue.
Well, but not necessarily, because now they're obviously building all these new places or renovating them. So you, as an asylum seeker, could get that.
No, because the point is, the distinction is between when you're an asylum seeker and when you're accepted as a genuine asylum seeker and a refugee. So that's the distinction. When you're still going through the system of the courts to decide, you get priority, but as soon as you're decided in your favour, you don't.
But that's when you bring your family over, though, isn't it? And then you can go in. No, you can, and then you can get into the system and get a council house.
Christo, you're absolutely right, and that's why the Home Secretary's been looking at making the restrictions on people coming to bring their family over within a certain period.
Just quickly, the danger that we've got. Obviously, I'm trying to close the Bell Hotel, but these people are going to be dumped into communities next door to people like you and your women and your children, unchecked, unverified. We've seen the rapes, we've seen the paedophilia, we've seen the sex crimes, and now they're going to be even closer to the women.
Yeah, I think there's places like London that I've been to, which is a really nice part of the world, you know, on the kind of seafront there, etc. And you know, people pay a lot of money and people choose to live there. Generally, people choose to retire there. People save up their entire lives. They can go and buy a flat on the seafront in Llandudno, and then all of a sudden you see that £250,000 flats are being given away, you know, essentially at the taxpayers' expense to people who've just arrived here. I think it sticks in the craw a little bit. But a government spokesperson has said the vast majority of social homes in this country go to British nationals, and priority is given to local people who need it most. People who arrive in the country illegally or migrants on student or work visas cannot access social housing. Okay, it's not really entirely true, that is it? Let's be honest. But anyway, right.
Strictly it is.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a little bit of wordplay going on there. But anyway, right.